Holiday shopping season is about to get started, and we are in the lull before the storm. This is the time where everyone loses their ever-loving minds about what it means whether we shop or not on Friday. So the White House is out telling us that, hey, it's taking care of that inflationary little hiccup that we're seeing right now. So don't spend your money.
Don't worry about it. President Biden saying basically no big problem here. Like this is, just go out and spend your money. And I have to say this whole thing is really out of whack right now because consumer spending is off the charts, but household income is way down. So at some point, these things do not align. Something is going to happen where there's some sort of run into a cement wall because how do you continue to spend money that you don't have? And now a new poll out this morning says that 77% of Americans now say inflation is personally affecting them. Not surprising.
I want to stop you right there. You're so wrong because Wall Street's doing well, so everybody's doing well. So,
then this poll must be just throw it out, I guess.
It's just all right for some, you know. Yeah. The Coach bags flying off the shelves, Lululemon, totally fine.
But when you go to the grocery store,
staples for apples, people are hurting. We can't buy apples.
Can't buy
cheese,
buy
Lululemon.
Can't buy yogurt. Can't buy anything and not notice these price problems right now. I mean, just go to the grocery store and you'll see it across the board right now. And 57%, according to this new poll, 57% blame President Biden for this. Say that the survey looked at 1,600 adults, and they say that most important issue facing America right now, that more than any other issue right now, is inflation. Even including COVID is like lower on their list right now. And just 18% say President Biden is doing enough to address this issue. That's not good for Team Biden. It could be that that's why we're hearing these stories now about, this Washington Post story is amazing. So there's growing concern and there's reports that Team Biden have been having private meetings about who should run in 2024. Should it be him or someone else?
Now, he already promised us he was not going to run a second term.
But now they're saying he's saying, yes, I am going to. But apparently, according to this Washington Post piece, 28 people who are close to the president say there's no way he's running. Like they don't see him running for president. This is amazing. Think about this, right? He's got the sort of common knowledge, the thing that people either hoped or feared during the previous election was that Kamala Harris would be the inheritant of this office. But she's not polling very high either. And so the leaks out of these meetings is that she is not the default as the inheritant. They've been keeping her.
We already saw how unpopular she was during the election.
Yes.
Yeah. And the party just puts her up, but she was not a favorite among Democrats, among Democratic voters. She was polling lower. She was polling lower than Bernie Sanders. She was polling lower than Andrew Yang was.
But history tells us that any time presidents go on spending sprees, we get inflation. That's why we had these awful numbers in the 70s and 80s, that because of all of the spending programs into specifically wars and social products. So President Biden has been on a spending spree since he was president-elect. And now we have inflation. This is exactly a cause and effect type thing that economists tell us will happen. And now the White House is saying it's not our fault. It's the pandemic. It's the supply chain. It's everything else. But still we're cramming through social spending programs and then pretend we're so shocked that flooding an economy with spending when it's all right for some and not others does not have an effect. I don't think I said that right, but you know what I mean. We're pretending that we didn't see this coming.
Right, and on the run. Well, I was going to say, coming up a little bit later in the show, we're going to talk about currency collapsing because of exactly what we're doing right now, but in a totally different country. So We'll have that a little bit later in the show. Go ahead, David.
I was just going to say, and nobody really wants to admit, how serious his cognitive decline is. Because, if you watch his speeches and anything he talks about, when he goes off prompter, he makes absolutely no sense. I was watching something the other day, and he talked about his wife dying in a house fire, and he just kept on going. It's like, wait a minute, what? Like completely off the wall stuff.
Well, there's a video of him just the other day where he just walks up to, when he was in Europe and he was in the UK, and he just walked up to a microphone and it wasn't on and there was no speech for him to give. And he just like walks up to a microphone. Everyone was sort of milling about and shaking hands and doing things. And he just like walks up to this microphone and just starts like spewing kind of nonsense. And then Jill walks over to him and like grabs like, come on.
We're going this way.
We're going this way. Like, okay. So you can understand why there's growing concern. Why are they having secret meetings right now about whether or not this guy should be president in 2024? He told us, as you pointed out earlier, before that he wasn't going to seek a second term. But now at a virtual fundraiser earlier this month, Biden told a small group of donors that he plans to seek a second term. And he said that back in March. And he says, I've never been able to plan 3 and 4 years ahead of time for certain. But now he's
That's
planning.
That's honky. Every politician has to plan 3 to 4 years in advance for the sole reason of fundraising.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whenever they say that, they don't mean it.
So 3 years. I mean, 2024, we think about like cognitive decline at this level in 2021, and then we're talking 3 years from now, he's going to take on a second term. This is, I mean, it
feels
concerning.
Very uncomfortable to discuss it, but the press was so ready to discuss it when it came to President Trump. And he never could complete a sentence with a subject verb ever. Like he had no good grammar, right? But we were fine with him
but his
because
was ignorance.
Ignorance, or I mean, the guy spoke in sentences that just like implied the endings of them.
Right.
The way I'm speaking right now, I feel like I should not talk.
Right. That's the thing. For the rest of the show, we need to be impeccable.
Right.
Period. Otherwise, we are going to be chastised.
For
period.
The pot calling the kettle black.
Exactly. But no, back to this Washington Post piece. So the only person that's come out is Chris Dodd. Chris Dodd, a Democrat, says the only thing I've heard him say is that Biden is planning on running again. And I'm glad he is. But if we go deeper, what he is saying publicly is what he firmly believes. There's no difference, says Ed Rendell, former governor of Pennsylvania. Right? He will not run if he feels he can't do the job physically or emotionally. Okay, great. But here's the big sentence. Here's the big paragraph. But interviews with 28 Democratic strategists and officials, many of whom spoke on the condition of anonymity, to speak more frankly, show that the assurances have not stopped the internal debate over whether Biden will appear on the ticket. So 28 Democratic strategists who are in the know are basically saying, we don't think he's going to be on the ticket. And that's why they're having secret meetings right now to look at replacing the guy.
It's not supposed to be a sure thing. I remind you that he will have to seek nomination from the Democratic Party. Usually it's a sure thing, but it could be some kind of internal coup. And most of us sort of have an idea that the Democratic Party has an agenda that is not always representative of its voters, is what I'm going to say in a nice way.
I mean, okay, so one thing is like, okay, should he run, right?
Yes.
Should he run? But then second of all, it's his poll numbers, and it's the Democratic panic right now. And
but it's very hard to beat an incumbent, no matter what.
Hard to beat an incumbent?
Yes.
Yes.
Usually.
Yes, it's very hard. But right now, if you look at what the Democrats are doing, they're lining up right now fundraising and a battle plan for 2024. And they've essentially, on this new Democratic strategy battle plan, they've left off states that have been battleground states before. Looking at the data this morning, they've left off Florida. Mm-hmm. They're basically saying Florida is now not a battleground state anymore. So we're not considering, what is it? How many electoral votes does Florida have? 28 or 27?
What do you mean? That they think it's a lost cause, or
they think it's a lost cause?
They're not even gonna campaign or anything there. They're like, yeah, we're not even gonna worry about
They're
Florida.
going to let it go red.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're just not even looking at it. We're not even looking at Ohio, which is a battleground, which Obama won. We're not looking at Florida, that Obama won. We're saying, no, we can't win it. We're not even going to waste time, attention, effort there. We're going to focus instead on areas we think we can win in Pennsylvania and other places like that, which by a narrow margin. But again, this is why Democrats right now are begun saying out loud what others are saying privately, according to this piece in U.S. News World Report, that Joe Biden's political standing is so weak, less than a year into his presidency, he may not be able to win re-election in 2024. But let me say this. To all the I'm sure there's a lot of cynical people out there that are like, yeah, he's going to continue on this path, right? This is getting worse for him. Poll numbers wise, that's one thing. Cognitive decline, that's a whole other issue. But on poll numbers, Remember George W. Bush? He was not well liked at all heading
Yes.
into 9/11. And his poll numbers were in the toilet. People were like, what is he doing? Like, he's going to children's book reading things. Like, what is this president doing? We wish we would have gotten Al Gore. And then 9/11 hits, right? He shows leadership. His poll numbers go up into the 90s. He goes to the Yankees game. He throws out a first pitch. The crowd goes crazy. Things happen. Things turn around for presidents. There's a long way before 2024.
So you're saying he needs a national tragedy in order to...
No, I'm just saying that there's
Because he got
moments
into presidency during a national tragedy.
I'm not saying that we need a national tragedy. All I'm saying is that the leadership, moments of big American leadership actually
You know what he
can
could do?
move the needle.
You know what he
What's
could
that?
do? He could deliver on all his promises.
Yeah. We were talking before the show, or maybe it was in the pre-show, that he's only delivered, what do you say, on 8% of his promises from the campaign?
8%. Yeah.
8%. I would love to know what those 8% are.
I mean, it's interesting now, though, to discuss the idea of an age limit for office holding, something we have always been hesitant to do.
I know you're a strong anti-ageist. Like you're very everyone should have, and I hear you on that.
I don't think I am that.
Well, there's
I
a
don't
minimum age.
You have been, but have you gone? You've kind of maybe pulled back.
I
on
was
that?
very against certain members of our family having their driver's license after a certain age, despite certain. No, I'm not. I don't think that everyone should have indefinite privileges.
When it comes to other people.
When it comes to the safety and the leadership of other people, but I don't know how to set those. There's no way. What do you give them, an SAT? There's no way to set.
Well,
these.
no, I know it's crazy and we're not fans. I'm not a fan of this woman, but Lauren Boebert, I think it was Lauren Boebert actually a few weeks ago, put forth the idea of a cognitive test for leaders.
I don't think anybody would trust any kind of standardized test. That's the thing. We don't even trust SATs anymore. Those are gone, and with good reason. You might have subscribed to the newsletter. I think it was Monday that we had the story about how now standardized tests are out because they are classist.
Right.
How would we, as a nation, agree on any kind of analysis of somebody's cognitive abilities?
Right. And
we agree on nothing.
And of course, if Democrats were like, we're going to do a test where we're going to study Republicans,
right?
That's going to go over well. Or Republicans are going to do a test that study Democrats.
I just don't see.
We don't even listen.
Reason.
We don't even listen to the Congressional Budget Office, which is supposed to be a nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office.
All they need to do is have a questionnaire where they're like, okay, you are looking at running for office. Okay, if 80% of your constituency wants this, do you give it to them? Yes or no?
Right. Yeah. Like more of a civics test about how you actually run instead of a cognitive test.
Or the test you give people who want to naturalize as Americans. They're like, who's the first president of the United States? And no studying. You have to just take it, right? If new citizens want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, most Americans can't name the second president of the United States. Most Americans can't name stuff that people have to pass on an immigration test or a naturalization test in the United States.
Right. It was President Scroob, right?
President
Final
who?
question.
Scroob.
Final question. Earth, round or flat?
Right. Yeah. Are you some kind of a denier of historical events? Then you're out. You can't. But it's a good question. John Adams. Very good, Frederick. You got it. I was waiting for someone to get the answer. John Adams. Can you name the third president? That's a real tough one. Actually, that's not tough at all.
It was Baby Adams.
Baby Adams? No, it was not. It was not Baby Adams. It was Thomas Jefferson. Baby Adams.
Baby Adams came
John
later.
Quincy Adams was a number of years later. Yes, Baby Adams. Yeah.
Historical moment brought to you by this American
Pfizer.
Right. Baby Adams. Can anyone name? Yeah, interesting point. What do you think is going to happen? Let us know in the chat or drop us a comment below. Will President Biden run for re-election willingly, or I don't know. I'm just really curious what's going to happen here, because the Democratic Party right now, especially we're going to see what happens in the midterms, 2022. Think about it. We've only got a few hundred days until the 2022 elections and midterms. So that is going to be a massive bellwether for what happens to Democrats in 2024. I think they're in for a rude awakening.
Well, and one thing they're going to have to take into consideration, too, is you've got a president who thinks he's running. How in the heck are you going to tell him and get him off of the ballots?
Right. I mean, that's why these secret meetings are taking place right now. Replacement. I mean, and some of the discussion has been replacing him with an Oprah Winfrey, replacing him with a Michelle Obama.
Yes.
I mean, and because some of the other people that put forth in some of these names, like Pete Buttigieg and Terry McAuliffe and others, their approval ratings are in the toilet. So you're going to replace Joe Biden with a Pete Buttigieg right now as a choice?
I don't know. It just feels like now we need a Ronald Reagan who's got that star quality, and no party has one anymore.
Well, we got
Trump.
McConaughey.
Please.
Right.
Refer to pre-show rant about Matthew McConaughey for anybody who wants to vote in his favor.
I think we do have star quality in some of these guys, but they get pushed out by the party, and we end up getting vanilla. We end up getting boring, middle of the road, corporate Democrats. They get pushed out. We had an Andrew Yang who had a bit of a star quality, who was polling higher than Kamala Harris. We had Bernie Sanders, who was certainly speaking for the people, had a higher star quality. He was filling rallies.
Yes.
It was like 10-1, not even close compared to what Biden was doing. And he gets pushed out by the party. So it's like we can't have our cake and eat it too.
And look at the criteria. It's like Democrats want to push, culture and kind of virtue signal a lot, and they want to put up Kamala Harris, who is like horribly polling and everything. But look at somebody like Tulsi Gabbard. She checked off every single box of somebody that they would have wanted and would have made in my opinion, probably a better president than what we have.
Yeah. But you can't have it because corporate Dems and Wall Street won't let you have it. So let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Will Biden be running for president in 2024?
But the president came out and said, hey, I'm addressing inflation. We can all go have our turkey. And then maybe tomorrow, Clayton can give us a history lesson on the back history of Black Friday and why we do that. And that'll be fun.
Black Friday and the pardoning of the turkey.